I don't have a Saquon Barkley jersey on today because I don't believe he should be staying anywhere in this area.
Yeah, if I were him, I'd be on the first plane out of here.
Absolutely. And I don't blame the Giants for handling the situation the way they've handled it. I don't blame Saquon for going somewhere else, but this is the perfect time for both of them to split. Saquon Barkley's only got X amount of years left to be a really productive back. We see how these guys fall off. He's already got an injury history, so someone's going to want him. Someone's going to pay him. The New York Giants don't need to be paying a running back at all because they're in a full rebuild. They're probably going to end up drafting a quarterback. This is going to be the last year of Daniel Jones, and this is going to be over. This is now it. Now, the rebuild got started 2 years too late because of what happened in that first season of Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones together and winning the playoff game. And they had to keep him. They had to. And I was the biggest Daniel Jones critic in the world going into that season. And he was great. And he was great in that playoff game. And you had to keep him. You had no choice. Maybe not pay him that much. But there is an out at the end of this coming year. So now, really, is when Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll get their hands on this roster and totally make it theirs. But will John Mara, after another season where they're going to be losing and they're going to not make the playoffs, I'd be shocked if they did, is he going to be able to tolerate another one of those seasons? Especially
with the new defense coordinator coming in and, trying to figure all that stuff out. I would just say that given Rich Eisen's report about the Giants are done with Daniel Jones and they want to start over, then that tells me if I am a veteran player like McKinney and Xavier McKinney and like Saquon Barkley, you go somewhere else where you can win. Now, you may have to settle for less money. I don't know. It's amazing to me what's going on with the running backs in the NFL. We talk about it every year, but even more so this year because all of these guys are not getting tagged. They're getting released. It's almost like they go to like team meetings. In team meetings, they sit down and they go, okay, is anybody going to pay a running back? Nah, we're not going to pay a running back. And then everybody gets cut.
Collusion?
It feels that way, especially when it comes to this position. It's not... they're spending a lot of money on a lot of players, and we expect Justin Jefferson to get about $30 million a year as a wide receiver. So it's not like they're trying to save money because they're all going to spend up to whatever it is, $50 million. It's just that this one position, it's like everybody is looking at the analytics of the position, and they're saying, you know what, we don't need these guys to be making this kind of money, especially if we're only going to get, 13, 14 games out of them, or we're going to lose them for, half the season.
Yeah, I also think it sort of reminds me of baseball and some of these offseasons we've seen where teams are just not paying guys that are in their 30s or in their mid-30s anymore. It's very rare. I mean, obviously, Steve Cohen paid a couple of guys who were 1,000 years old that were pitchers, but
they were only two-year contracts.
Right. So you don't see these longer deals for guys who were 32, 33. Aaron Judge got a big deal at 30, but you don't see it. It's not like they all got together in a room and said it, just that looked at some of the data and said that this is just not worth it. To be paying guys that are this age. If you look at the production, the same thing's going on for a running back. But I do believe that Saquon Barkley, obviously he's got a long injury history, but when he's healthy, he's going to be tremendously productive, especially in a real offense. In a real offense? What is that going to be like for Saquon Barkley?
It would be a totally like new lease on life.
Yeah.
And, I don't know where he's going to end up going. I know that you hear Houston a lot. We hear the Chargers. We've even heard the Cowboys. But, again, it goes down to how much money can these people spend and how much will they spend and what is he looking for? I mean, if somebody gave him, I don't know, $10 billion for 2 years and he guaranteed it, and would he go for that? Is he looking for $15 million a year? Who knows? And I hope it doesn't sign some Fugazi contract that says, like 3 years, $48 million where, $22 million of it is guaranteed. You know what I mean? Like that's just a Fugazi contract. That's just adding years on so you don't get a bigger cap hit. And that's not a contract that, hopefully he and his agent won't sign. He'll sign a real deal. Sign a 2-year deal for, I don't know, $24 million.
Which is, I think, sort of something that the Giants had offered last year, like $12 million a year, but it's a little bit different now, a year older, whatever it may be. He felt like he had to fight the fight and take the franchise tag and roll the dice a little bit. But, I mean, there's just absolutely no way that you can win in that spot because at the end of the season, you're just a year older, more wear and tear, another injury that he had to deal with where he spent a few weeks away from the team and not playing and missing games. So this is a time now that it just feels right. Unfortunately, things did not work out as the number 2 overall pick. It's
not that he was bad.
No.
I think it was just on a bad team.
He was on a bad team. And
I think he's a really good football player who's been besieged by injuries, and he's been on a bad team.
And he was a tremendous representative. I'm speaking like he's gone now, but it feels like he's gone.
Yeah.
But he was a tremendous representative to the organization, the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for the Giants this year. He never, even through that whole contract thing, acted like a baby. He just talked about it in professional terms. He didn't go to social media and do all the things that the Jets do when they're unhappy. Think about this. He's in a casino having fun, walking by, we see him. Al says, "You want to go on?" And he goes, "Hey, let me call my manager to make sure I'm okay." He's done everything right, is my point.
Yes.
And it just sucks that it didn't work out for him and the Giants in the fact that they couldn't celebrate more victories together. Did make the playoffs, of course, a couple years ago and beating the Vikings and going to the divisional round. But I would imagine the type of guy that he is, with the money being suppressed in the running back market, that winning to him is so critically important.
It's got to be. And it's got to be, could you imagine if somebody like Mike McDaniel or one of these top 5 offenses in the league, Kansas City, I think Harbaugh is going to have a great offense out there in L.A. I mean, if one of those offenses and one of those offensive minds gets him and is able to use him in a way that, maybe he's not touching the ball 350 times a year.
Yeah.
Maybe he's touching it 210, 220 times a year. And, 50 or 60 of those touches are out of the backfield catching the ball. I mean, that would be like, and if you could add him to a group, like look at the group that the 49ers have. If you could add him to another team that has somewhat of a group like that with an established quarterback that is, going to throw for 4,500 yards. Now, all of a sudden, you put him in that situation, and it's a completely different set of circumstances for him as a player, and certainly for the offense that gets a player of his caliber. He's not going to turn out to be the gold jacket guy that we were told that he was going to be, simply because I believe he was in a bad spot. He was in a bad spot when he first got here, and it never really ever turned around for him. And even that 1 year that they end up going to the playoffs, I mean, quite frankly, that was, they were fighting tooth and nail to get into it.